So in this episode today, on a busy, rainy London street, we are going to honour a man named Mark Birley, and we're going to talk about food. And we're currently on Mount Street, and there's quite hustle and bustle here, lots of cars, shop windows, lots of people passing. You can see the whole of the street, you know what's here, but there is a door. And behind that door is a club. It's Harry's Bar, which was opened in 1979, so it's celebrating its 45th year, and we're going to speak to the club director and do a bit of a cooking lesson.
Ben arrivato.
So we're now inside at Harry's Bar, and the table that we actually are sat at is where the founder, Mark Birley, used to sit. Mark Birley opened the club in 1979. Unlike other clubs that he opened, like Annabelle's, Mark's, George, they aren't named after somebody who worked with him. They're named after, this one is named after the bar in Venice. However, because of the extraordinary skill and deft hospitality touch of the staff, it has become obviously a much more interesting ticket than what you can find in Venice. And a large part of the reason of that is the man to my left. And this is Luciano, who's the club director, who it was a bit like when Nick Fowkes told me to learn about cigars. He told me to go see Eddie Sahakian. When I wanted to sort of learn more about this world, my dad was sort of go and see you. Because of course I am the second generation Chamberlain that you have come to know and know well. And so firstly, thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for making time for us to actually go through a few interesting topics that were long overdue, because I haven't seen you in a while, and what better occasion than now to just sit down and go through it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's been a long time. We're going to go and do something a bit more interactive later, but for people who are watching who would like a little bit of background, could you tell me a little bit about this room as a club? Because for those behind the camera, it is one single room full of tables, beautifully laid. It is a dining club in the old-fashioned sense, but sort of in a way that only Mark Birley could have done, brought into a sort of 21st century sort of culture with men, women, and all and sundry kind of coming together behind a kind of very discreet door.
So yes, basically, as you mentioned, 1979 was the year where it all started. Obviously, the inspiration was Harry's Bar in Venice, so from the Cipriani family, that actually helped at the time Mark and James Sherwood, actually, because James Sherwood was 49% shareholder here. Because of his ownership at the Cipriani Hotel, he managed to bring in Arrigo as a consultant. And this is how it started. This is why, if you look at the chairs and everything, it is like Harry's Bar in Venice. Obviously, with Mark Birley's eye, the sophistication went, well, more than sophistication, the reach to perfection is actually closer than other venues. And one room controllable by your eyesight, so that you can actually see anything that is happening, and whoever is dining or is actually is in the club, he always loved to have everything in one frame, so that he could actually have full control and understand exactly how ambiance actually was at a certain moment, at a given moment. So.
And was there something about Harry's that Mark was particularly fond of, that he had his eye on in particular?
I think mainly it was food, Dolce Vita feel for sure, because with the dress code and everything, and but not bringing it to an exasperation of luxury. Is actually like a top level trattoria, in my opinion, where you have amazing ingredients, beautiful food, but without too much sophistication, but with the glamour of all his friends and himself and all the members. So
yeah, okay, well that makes sense, and it now has become sort of an institution that people are kind of constantly wanting to join, and it's your job to sort of manage the kind of transitions through the years as members come and go, and you know, you are creating that sort of sense of a family feel when the members come in here.
Family feel is the key, because why would anyone be part of a private members club if you wouldn't have that feel? Where you know, the key thing is, I always say there's 3 ingredients. Of course, ownership, because Richard had the eye to move the clubs within, you know, in the new century, in the modern days, and he let me do it, you know, according to what agreement we had, and he totally understands the concept. To the staff has been here for years and years and years, and that definitely makes a family feel.
Yeah.
And number 3, of course, the members themselves. You know, it's beautiful when you see, out of 20 tables, you know, 10 of them, they all say hi to each other, you know, they're all friends. And
yeah.
That is exactly what you were referring to, so that is it, you know, it has to be a family feel.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, that whilst it was Mark Birley who opened up in 1979, there has been 2 lords of this particular fiefdom, and whilst Luciano is the sort of major domo of the fiefdom, there is of course there's the ownership of Richard Caring now, yes, who came in and took over Mark's clubs, and I think that there has been a change in the terms of the way that the club looks. It got redone, and so in comparison to what it was before to now, what do you think is the sort of the major difference? And certainly in terms of the profile of people who want to come here, has that changed much? Or is it just a decor thing?
I think decor-wise, it changed only. We just freshened it up a little bit, so yeah, it still retains the same feel. The Peter Arnolds are still on the wall, and in terms of membership, it has changed a little bit, but because I think London has changed as well. But we still, obviously, the old families, all their sons, daughters, granddaughters, and grandsons, they all members of the club. So there has been a little bit of a new sort of, not wave, but of course, you know, with times people travel so much more than before. So yes, a little bit has changed, but I think it still retains the original feel, the club feel. And you know, the key thing is, like we were saying earlier, is just you need to create a room where people know each other. Mm-hmm. So that makes it, that really makes the difference. But it has changed a little bit, yes, but not in a for the worse.
Yeah,
it's just different modern days.
And for a man who's a sort of perfectionist such as yourself, obviously, at the end of the day, you want to leave feeling satisfied as to how the day has gone. So, what are the kind of is the key element in terms of service and food that you think is the most important thing for anybody, even if they're just opening up a restaurant themselves or wanting to visit something, that they should keep their eye out for?
First thing, pleasure in pleasing people. Yeah. That's key thing. Then, always a challenge when you see a grumpy person walking through the door and see a smile within hopefully 2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, by giving care, attention, and also professionality, being capable at what you do. Mm-hmm. And those are, to me, are the key things. But definitely you need to have it in what you really need to feel that you're doing it because it will make someone happy. It will make, you know, maybe you will make a better day for this person. Yeah. So it's the best that I can say. And
you do that. I mean, I've seen it in action quite a lot, and it's quite
very sweet. Yeah. That's very. We try.
Yeah. So in terms of Mark and Richard, could you just we round this particular bit off by giving us something that each of them taught you.
So, Mark, of course, when I arrived, when I started in 2003, I was 25 years old. So, I certainly didn't have, all this knowledge in tailoring, in how to address people, royals, ambassadors, and everything. Even though you studied at a catering school, but in action, Mark Birley used to correct you, and you used to say just good morning. So no, it is good morning, sir. Good morning, madam. So, and Richard has done the same thing, but in the modern days.
Yeah.
So he's first of all also to understand more dynamism in terms of business, but without looking for a money generating entity, but just to be wary that you need to control certain things in order to just sustain your business. Modern business, sustain what you do.
Yeah.
What is your passion, what you do for a living. So I think one was the classic world at its best, and the second one is the modern world at its best. So lucky to have them both.
Trying to combine the two. Yeah, it's interesting because you may have learned at catering school about addressing people properly, but this was one of those places where you're actually probably likely to meet the royals and ambassadors and things like that. This is where they come, and so yeah, I like that there's that they do teach that at catering school. But you were probably the only person from your catering school class who actually had to put it into action. But the what I think is kind of key with any club like this is that there isn't that kind of, it's not ruled by Excel spreadsheets and accounting. It's a rule, you get the benefits from putting in that extra effort, from spending that little bit more on the flowers, from having that number of extra staff to make sure that everyone's attended to. That's kind of the key, and how Harry's Bar manages to sort of retain a certain level of service, right?
That's exactly. There's definitely no Excel spreadsheets. That, in fact, I'm pretty bad at those, and I don't want to see them.
No, I mean,
but it's just the research. For example, let's look at the chef here. I mean, I told him his worry is to buy the best of the best without being ripped off, of course. But that is his main concern.
Yeah.
There is no budget as such, so, and that gives you a little bit the idea of the philosophy. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the service, attention to detail, especially technique, because there's nothing better than if someone that is, yes, very sweet and very caring, but you add skills to that in terms of technique, it brings it to a totally different level.
Yeah.
It's a different world.
Yeah.
Then it becomes really interesting.
Yes. And one thing that is, if you know to ask, and I'm sorry if this, now all the members are suddenly now going to ask for it, is that Luciano will, despite the fact that he has a club to run, if you ask very nicely, will come tableside with the most amazing copper tableware to create Cacio Pepe. Now, a very simple dish, but could be easily gotten wrong. And it's one of the kind of hallmarks of here, a wonderful experience to sort of watch you sort of juicefully kind of put this all together right next to the table, and obviously it's very delicious as well. Now, I don't know how to make it, so a big part of today is you teaching me how it's done, taking me through how to put it together, and then creating this concoction, which, as you say, it's a Roman dish, right?
It is a traditional Roman dish that normally is done with tonnarelli, which is a slightly thicker spaghetti, sort of tagliolini, fresh pasta. But I personally like more of the general consent in Rome and in Italy. I like them with rigatoni because it just makes it a bit more of an interesting experience.
So that's what we're going to do. Is I'm going to learn how to make Cacio Pepe. So we are set up, and as mentioned, you about to give me a cooking lesson. And I think sort of every man should really know how to cook a specific dish. And there is something about Cacio Pepe that I find to be something that sounds so simple, but the effect is really quite something.
It's not a very light dish, but it's just such a great dish because, main ingredient, cacio, which is cheese, in this case, pecorino romano, so from the Roman region, even though the sheep originally are from Sardinia, because historically best pecorino comes from Sardinia, but throughout the years, they managed to get Sardinian sheep and do their own in the Roman region.
Yeah.
But the dish itself, as I said, pecorino and pepper. So it's a rustic, but yet sophisticated dish. And it's all about the temperatures. You really need to play with temperatures. You can never really have the cheese on the flame itself, but you need to use like the cooking liquor of the water, which reaches 90 Celsius. And that is your vector actually to create the cream that we need in order to have the sauce for the pasta itself.
So there's an alchemy to it that's totally. A little bit like a certain type of risotto or something. You need to get very specific things right, otherwise it's all going to be
temperatures right. That's the key thing. And of course, we need to, here on the flambé set, we'll have the cooking liquor where the pasta has actually been cooked in.
So that's basically, we would, sorry to lower the tone, but pasta water.
Yes,
okay.
So yes, the pasta water, because the starch that is released is another binding agent in the end for the whole recipe.
Helps the sauce stick to the pasta.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
So once that it reaches...
And do you source the pecorino? Did you sort of go out and kind of try 100 different types of it before you chose the particular one?
So you need a pecorino that is not too aged, because otherwise the saltiness becomes too strong.
Right.
So it becomes too salty. And by the way, another thing, when you do a cacio e pepe, don't salt the water. Don't put any salt in the water.
Okay.
Because otherwise, or if you do just a little bit, because pecorino, so instead of using a really aged one, medium aging, but it needs to be grated finely, and that is always the...
this is like a sort of sugar powder.
Yes.
That's really finely grated.
Finely grated, and then, ideally, in order to avoid, if you make like a mistake, if the temperature is too high, but you could like grate it like 2-3 times.
Yeah, okay.
In order to break the molecules even more. But we don't need to do that. So, pecorino, of course. We start with a little base. And now that we have...
I'm already nervous about when I have my go. I'm already nervous about when I have my go. Can I do 3 spoonfuls of pecorino?
So we control now the water is back to the boiling point.
Yep.
So that's what we wanted, 90, almost 100.
Yep.
We start to play with the water. Water goes in, and spoon, you start to... This is the base.
So it is like making a roux.
It is, a little bit, yes. The consistency is, it will loosen up.
Yeah.
So this is the stage where you add more pecorino according to the quantity. So in this case, we have 1 portion of pasta, so I presume more or less 100 grams per person. And you would need probably equally of pecorino.
Okay.
But then you can play it. You can play it by, it depends on how creamy you want it and how much sauce you want as well in the pasta.
Yep.
Now we go on. Obviously it's starting really to... Okay, we need a little bit more water now.
So, you just celebrated 45 years, haven't you?
Yes, 45 years, basically last week, yes.
And my father made an appearance, I believe.
It did indeed. It was hard to miss. I was standing outside, and I could see him walking all the way from South Audley Street, right at the beginning, at the corner with Curzon Street. I said, it must be Mr. Chamberlain coming this way.
My dad's not hard to miss. Very tall, sort of mighty man. But you've known him for a long time.
Quite. Since I started. So 2003 is 21 years.
Yeah.
And I might have actually met him before as well. I don't know if it was at the Palace Ingstad or the Hotel du Cap, the Eden Rock in Cap d'Antibes.
It's a hell of a CV you've got there.
Luckily, I wouldn't be here otherwise. You know, they wouldn't want me here otherwise. So you see now the consistency is perfect. This is what we want. This is exactly so.
Yeah, great.
Nice cream.
It's almost like a very, well mashed potato. Now at that
Exactly,
point.
exactly. Joël Rebouchon's sort of same silkiness.
Yeah.
Exactly that. So now, what we need though, I've been a bit too ambitious. Take that, and I just want the pasta, which is here. We have the rigatoni. These ones are from Gragnano, so near Naples. Autochthone grains from the south of Italy. And probably 12 to 13 minutes cooking time should be it. Always buy good quality because it makes a difference. And
so tell me, why do you use rigatoni over what do you say the Romans like to use?
They like tonnarelli, which is like, as I said, in between a tagliolino and a spaghetto, slightly thicker.
Okay.
To me, rigatoni, because they just, the sauce gets into them.
Sort of holds, yeah.
And
you just had so much, you just sort of decided this is.
But to me, long pasta like spaghetti to me is with tomato and basil.
Yeah, fine, okay, yeah.
To me, carbonara, gricia, cacio e pepe, amatriciana, rigatoni. I mean, that is
fine.
Sorry.
Fine. Understood.
So we brought back a little bit of temperature in the pasta.
Yeah.
So now we can start to emulsify it. And this is the stage where in Italian the verb is mantecare, which means, combining the ingredients and bind them together in this sauce. Let's do that. Okay, first ones. This is the stadio. If you made the sauce that is a little bit too runny, you add pecorino and you bring it back. But I think we're pretty much there.
Yeah, I mean, now that's great.
And now's
the Pepe.
Pepe. Don't be shy, otherwise it wouldn't be called Cacio e Pepe.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot.
But it makes...
yeah.
It makes...
This is very exciting. It smells amazing. I mean, the pepper smell is quite something. People underrate black pepper. I think it's it's basically sort of table side sort of.
I totally
condiment,
agree.
But I think it's not given enough credit.
You just need to know how to use it. That's all.
So is this a feel thing for you? You can feel that you needed to add a little bit of water
Yes.
there. Like
It's
purely just by doing over and over again.
It's an extension of the heart.
Yeah.
It's just, there we are. That's it.
Do you remember when you made your first cacio e pepe?
The first cacio e pepe, it was my parents' restaurant in Sardinia.
Yeah.
So my mom obviously, my grandmother taught me how to do it, but because it's a family dish that you eat a lot in Italy. So I was probably, I don't know, 12 years old, or there we are. And voila.
Amazing.
If you want to.
Yes, I do.
Absolutely.
So.
Actually, I should have given you this, because then we do a little scarpetta in the end,
I mean, it's wonderful.
Is it nice?
I mean, it's so wonderful.
So pleased to hear that. My reputation was at stake.
It wasn't there. I mean, this is, for me, the sort of ultimate Italian comfort food.
It's
and so simple. I mean, if you were cooking on a date, and you made this, I mean,
90% through.
I mean,
90%.
Yeah. Either that or you're going to have a nap afterwards because it's really great. Anyway, so now it's my turn. Bear with me, viewer, because, you know, I'm a dab hand at some things, but not necessarily the first time I try. So let's have a go. Okay, so start by firing up the stove.
Yes.
Okay, so start with the pecorino.
There we are.
So I seem to remember you did a couple of tablespoons.
Yes.
And you gave it a little bit of flair.
Yeah.
Getting it in. I didn't know, natural.
It looks pretty good to me,
Yeah,
though.
that's fine.
That's a good start.
Okay, we'll start there. Okay. How are we doing with the water? Still need
A
to get
little
that.
bit longer,
Yeah,
just a tiny bit more.
So did Dad come here like after squash games and things like that? And so
With Mark all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Squash, lunch with him here. Normally would be
it's a good day, that, isn't it?
not too bad.
Squash and then
Squash at the bath and
lunch here.
rackets.
Yeah.
Beautiful steam afterwards.
Because the bath and rackets is quite something. But you know what? Here's the issue. We'll do the bath and rackets one day. But up until I was 13 years old, Slim Gyms, so my dad's gym, and the bath and rackets was the only gyms that I'd ever been to. So I thought that that's what they looked like. So by the time I was 13, I went to the gym that was on the grounds of my school. And I went in and I was like,
Doesn't look the same. There's no Persian rugs under the Smith machine.
Yeah, exactly. It's the very definition of a sheltered upbringing. Now, see, it's almost reaching boiling, so I think that's that kind of 90 degrees that you were after. On we go. So sort of half ladles, not really.
Half, yes, even a little bit perfect. And now you play with the pecorino.
Okay, now, my very best mixing.
It's looking great already.
Oh, well, yeah, as I say, natural. It was my wife that taught me how to do a roux. She basically said that that's kind of the foundation of all cooking. And I actually think that she's right. Now, do we do more water now or do more pecorino?
I think more pecorino now.
Yeah. So this is kind of like a primer with this, and then you add the more cheese.
Yes, because
you don't want to do like too much initially. You want to do
you
a little
need to
bit. Get started.
also because you don't want to you want to retain heat as well. So you do a base
Yes.
that helps you to do the rest of the sauce.
Yep.
And now that you have even
now?
that's perfect. Yeah.
Okay. More or enough?
I think for the time being we can start to. Look at that.
So all I think about is mashed potato. It's Robichon mashed potato.
It does though remind you of that, that's for sure.
A little more?
A little bit more. And I'm gonna just
It's fortunate with this suit that we're not trying anything tomato-y today. I've kind of gone with a suit that matches the colour of Cacio and
definitely.
Pepe.
That is always a nightmare. I try to be in a t-shirt when I have spaghetti pomodoro because
That's why you wear dark all the time, because you've got all sorts of sauces all over the place.
Oh, that for sure.
Okay, I think I'm quite pleased with that.
Absolutely, that looks amazing. What we're going to do now is just to move this.
Do you have asbestos fingers these days after?
Yeah. I didn't show emotion, but believe me, I felt it.
So I'll pop a bit of water in.
A bit of water, yeah.
Steady hand.
Perfect.
What I need to invest in is a ladle. I don't think I've got a proper nice ladle. That's what I need. So we just let that heat up.
Yes. I'm just going to bring it up a little bit. That's it. A couple of seconds and then it will be... You see, it is really...
So far, so good. But you know what, I sort of worry that there's going to be just something that I do wrong that kind of just sort of makes the whole thing curdle.
No, by the looks of it, it's already...
a brick or something.
No, as long as it's not on fire, it won't curdle.
Fine.
So perfect. Now we're going to do... Switch that one off. And I'll make you a little bit of room to put the pasta over there.
and we just spoon them off back into the...
Absolutely.
Yes, for 4 people. Is it for 5?
Try not to take too much water. Is that the idea?
Yeah. If you do, then you just add a little more pecorino.
Got it. Now the pasta here, the very different lengths. So is that because they're all being made? It's all being made downstairs.
No, these are okay. When it comes to dry pasta, like this one, there is, to be fair, restaurants that tell you they do their own pasta, they don't have just the facilities for the drying of the pasta. So you need to be in specific, you have to have specific rooms, specific temperatures, humidity. So this is artisanally made near Naples in a village called Gragnano, which is really known for this pasta. And but every other pasta, like tagliatelle, all fresh pasta or ravioli, then they're all homemade.
Downstairs. Super. Are we pepper now or are we mixing now first?
You can just start to mix a little bit and then with both if you want to, just to make it easier. You can use both just to...
Oh, I see.
To give it a... See if you're happy with the consistency or if you need to add anything. That looks pretty good.
I think it's a little thick. I think
a little bit,
just a little thick. So,
Totally.
so you know, me and my expertise, you know.
You're totally right.
Okay, yeah, it feels more like it.
Oh, look at that.
This is unbearably satisfying.
But it looks amazing. But also, I didn't mention earlier, we pre-toasted the pepper because that's a long process, you know.
Okay, yeah.
Just to intensify the flavor a little bit.
Okay.
You can just toast it like for
Where's the
fun.
pepper from?
So this pepper is from Madagascar. So
Great.
the one that we use.
Yeah, because you're right, it's super fragrant. As you say, it really kind of cuts through the whole flavour, the cheesiness. Is that all right?
Yes, that looks perfect.
Good coating. Mix it up again. And voila.
I think
We've got to plate it up now. Yeah,
now it's up to...
the maestro shall test.
No, and you. You got, please.
Okay. You first.
Thank you.
You know better.
You know, I like to take two like that on the fork, and then just, you know,
Scoop
sauce.
up.
Yes,
Oh yeah, it's great.
so good. It's delicious.
That's marvellous.
Can we have a glass of Nebbiolo, please?
Yeah.
Just kidding. Later.
Okay,
So
well,
good.
look, I think I might have to do something to round off the episode, but for now, leave me alone. So, here I am with my oversized bowl, and Harry's Bar is, of course, known for its Bellinis. So here is mine. It is a virgin Bellini as a non-drinker, what is this, peach juice and
ginger ale.
Marvellous. Super. Well, now that I've completed this as an expert now in Cacio Pepe, thank you so much to you,
My
Luciano.
utmost pleasure.
I've loved coming
Really
to
a
see you.
pleasure.
We've been wanting to do this for a very long time. We've had this in the plans, and I'm thrilled that you have come to watch, but for now, if you could leave me alone.
Ecco, Dani, non fate... Dani, i rumori. No, ma dico anche col carrello, magari. Fagli mettere un po' d'olio on the wheels.
You just say to put oil on the wheels.
Yes.
There you go. I know Italian.